on the training provider. We ourselves go for a day release because it works better for us in the business, and you're always within the business so that you can check up on the knowledge that you're learning at university. So, Apprenticeship Standards is actually the course that you're following. And on behalf of BDP, I was part of the Trailblazer group that developed both the Level 6 and Level 7 standards for architecture. Each standard is made up of knowledge, skills, and behaviours. Sorry, could you flick on to 2 slides on? My apologies. Sorry, my apologies about that. Yeah, so each made up of knowledge, skills, and behaviours, and it has 3 components. An employer who creates work opportunities, supports the learning of an apprentice, both on and off the job, reviews work, provides feedback. Higher education delivers academic understanding, maps and assesses work against the standard, and provides guidance on the endpoint assessment, and that is very crucial and important. The apprentice is developing their knowledge, skills, and behaviours while learning both the academic and practical sides of together. So doing the both and merging them as one. And us as what we do in the business is when we take on an apprentice, we look at what they're learning at university and try to map it to what we're learning for them within the workplace, because it can help give more understanding to the knowledge that they're gaining. So next slide, please. Just to give you an idea of how an apprenticeship will work compared to the conventional route of going to university, on the left we have the apprenticeship route, and this will take a maximum of 8 years. 4 years to complete the level 6, which is equal to part 1, and up to 4 years for the level 7, which is equals to part 2 and 3. Now, the conventional route is more open on how long it will take and is down to the individual, but the majority will be over 8 years before charter status is gained. And I can say this quite easily because I know a lot of people, when they start within industry after doing their part 2, they take 2 to 3 years before they'll actually go for their part 3, which is the charter status. The apprenticeship pathway takes a very clear route. All standards include on and off the job learning. They have a gateway which is met around the 36 to 40 months point. So it's sort of just after the 3 years. And this is where the mentor and the training provider decide that the apprentice is ready to progress onto the endpoint assessment. And that's really important, that it's not just the training provider, it's down to the mentor, and mentoring in an apprenticeship is very, very important. This is the final assessment and an apprentice to show their competence during their apprenticeship. It is designed to be an ongoing an objective and impartial assessment of an apprentice's knowledge, skills, and behaviours. Activities are different for every apprenticeship, but they all follow the same overall structure. In the case of architecture, it will be the part 3. This part has to be completed. I will now hand you over to Carmel, who will cover the application process from an apprentice's point of view. Carmel, over to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, guys. If we could have the next slide, please. Fab, thank you. So the apprenticeship application process, openings, you can usually find those advertised sometimes on job sites such as Indeed, or sometimes through the government.gov website. But also, if I'm honest, you probably want to have a look at the practices site themselves. They will have a vacancy spot, so sometimes if you can look on there, and they will be advertising any apprenticeship openings they may have there as well. Application criteria: you first of all be asked to upload your CV, to upload.
Sorry, Carmel, I don't know if it's just me, but it's a very distorted.
Yeah, I raised my hand too. I can't understand what she's saying.
Oh, sorry, Karma, you're really
Yeah.
distorted.
It's very, very broken up. Even Maria, even yours is quite in and out. You can't hear all the information.
I've been on 3 calls this morning, and one of them was Zoom as well, and I've had no issues. So I don't know if it's the link, the line, or what, because I haven't had an issue earlier.
To be honest,
I can hear Maria, but not Carmel.
Is this any better if I just put the mic closer?
No. Is it the headset by any chance, Carmel?
Maybe. Could Maria or Javin take over this while I try to resolve the issue?
Yeah, I can try to take over. Is my mic all right?
Yes, that's much
Yeah.
better.
All right, okay. I can try to take over, yeah.
Thanks,
So the
Joe.
application process, it's been a while since we did this, but so yeah, it was an apprenticeship kind of like vacancy that me personally, I'm not sure how Carmel found it, but I found it on Indeed, and I was then emailed to apply to BDP directly. The criteria that they had asked for was a portfolio from college, so that being my fine art and my product design coursework during my A-levels, a personal statement, and my grades, which is essentially like extremely similar to the criteria that you need to apply for university. So if you are going to do architecture, you should have those things ready by the time you're ready to apply. The next step was the telephone interview. This was like some super quick questions based on stuff that you put in your CV and your personal statement. I personally got asked about basketball because I used to play quite a bit, and what I kind of learned through playing in a team and stuff like that. And I also worked at M&S, and they asked quite a few questions about that as well, and how like kind of working with a team might have impacted that as well. And then once you've passed the telephone interview, there was an assessment and an in-person interview. So we came into the studio. We did like an icebreaker kind of thing where we just kind of did like a little bingo, trying to ask people questions, trying to learn different things about each other. And then we did a team building activity as well, where we did marshmallow and spaghetti. It was kind of just to kind of suss out how you work within a team. And then there was the 2-to-1 interview, so 2 architects and yourself, just interviewing you about your kind of previous experience, kind of suss out like how committed you are to the apprenticeship, since it is 4 years, and kind of just stick with their questions about your portfolio and stuff like that. So yeah, it was quite intense, but all in all, I think it was pretty good. It's a good way to kind of figure yourself out.
Can I just ask, are you both the same level? Is one of you level 7 and one level 6?
So we're both level 6, both in our final years now.
Sorry, can I just ask, is my microphone any better?
I can hear you.
It's a bit better, yeah.
Is it better? Amazing. Okay. I think the headset that I was given was slightly broken, so my apologies. My friends let me use this. All right. Should I take over from here and then we can get back to where you were supposed to start, Javin?
Yep, go ahead.
Amazing. Thank you, and apologies again. So to be honest, I think you covered that really well. Maybe we can just go on to the next slide, please. Thank you. So 2 types of learning between tutors and mentors, students and employees, and experimentation with experience. So this is kind of to talk about the difference of learning that you'll have between university compared to in practice. So looking at the first one, in university, you'll be assigned tutors for the studio which you will be learning in. You'll typically have 2, which are supposed to look after the entire studio, which can range from 10 to 20 different students, and they are responsible to look after all of those students. However, being in BDP or being in practice, that means you will have your own personal mentor. For example, me and Javin, we have 2 sets of mentors, as well as some others around the office who are aware of the apprenticeship and their standards, and are also going to help us out. But the difference is that you will have a more personal type of learning. They will be able to support you throughout your whole apprenticeship, throughout the 4 years, rather than just having 2 tutors looking after you in that studio just for that academic year. So the difference between students and employees. So this is a learning type from your surroundings. When you're in the studio at university, you're learning with fellow students who are still trying to figure it out themselves. Whereas in practice, you were surrounded by your colleagues who have plenty of experience. Most of them would have already finished most of their academic training at university, but they will also have experience of working in practice, which again gives you that experience of what it's like to be an employee and to deal with different consultants such as engineers, etc. They will give you a type of experience on how to construct as well as just learning how to design. And experimentation versus experience. So similarly, as I said, in university, you're learning along with other students and then you have your tutors. But a lot of the time you will be experimenting. And by that, you'll be trying to figure things out by yourself. Similar to, I'm not sure if many of you are doing A-levels, but you will be given maybe a lecture and then you are to go away and to figure things out by yourself. That's the experimentation side of things, which is good because you learn how to do things and how not to do things at the same time. Whereas the experience side, again, working within practice, you have people around you who already know how to do it and they can teach you how to do it step by step, which means that essentially you learn how to do things correctly quicker. So could we have the next step, please? By the way, I'm just taking it. We are answering questions after the session rather than in between. Okay, fabulous, thank you. Off the job training. So Maria covered this slightly. You will have on-the-job training and off-the-job training. So on-the-job training, it's like this. It's you in office, it's you helping your team to deliver a project, a live project, so it's going to be built. Whereas off-the-job training, that can range from you in your university attendance, what you're doing in studio there. It can range from lectures that you decide to go to in your free time, or if you are going to join maybe like a workshop or a tutorial or something that you wanted to learn to benefit your own individual skills. But it's important that you track that. So OneFile, as you can see here, is a database, an online database that a lot of apprenticeships use, and also have a series of others, which to be honest, I think Jenny knows a bit more about me. But essentially, there are different sites where you will log this off-the-job training. And to be honest, it should be on-the-job training as well. But the idea is that when you come to your endpoint assessment, at the end of the apprenticeship, all of these logs will then prove that you have covered what is expected to be learned during your apprenticeship. And to be honest, I think that pretty much covers all of these points. Next slide, please. Student and work-life balance, reality check. I think when you first join an apprenticeship or if you go into architecture, you're incredibly excited, as you should be. It's an amazing opportunity. But I'll be honest, it is tough. You're not just a student who goes to university and does your coursework and that's it. And you're not just an employee who does their work in office and can leave in office and go home. You're both. So you're going to have that reality check of time management. You're going to be working a lot. You know, there's a lot to do. It is challenging, but it can be easier than it may seem, because what I said about learning from people with experience, how to do things correctly and quicker, it also applies there. So whereas if I was a student learning, you know, how to do my coursework by myself, it would take longer because I wouldn't necessarily know how to do it correctly. I'm doing it off my own back. However, I'm in studio as an apprentice and I'm able to ask people next to me how to do something correctly and quickly. So that's what is meant by an assisted challenge. So yeah, so, you know, how does a typical day in life or week in the life of an architectural apprenticeship work? You go to university 1 day a week as a level 6 apprentice. Sometimes it's in block courses as you go to level 7, which is level 6 at the moment. So you go 1 day a week, and that's when you're expected to attend your lectures and do your tutorials with your tutors who will assist you with your design projects and get as much uni work done as you can. But to be honest, that's not going to be enough time. You will probably need to take some evenings here and there. Some people just want to take evenings after work. Some people say, oh, I'm going to take 1 day out my weekend every now and again to get it done. But it really depends on how much work you want to do, how much you want to achieve. But in order to pass, 1 day a week won't be enough. But maybe, I think at the moment, 2 days after work, I'll spend like a couple of hours to get some stuff done. Sometimes I'll be able to just sit down in the living room while the TV's on and do it on my laptop. So it's not too bad when you get that time management that works for you. So yeah, let's just have a look at the next slide. Jevin, is this you guys?
Yeah, this is me now, yeah.
All right, thank you guys. I'm going to pass you over to Jevin now.
Perfect, cheers, Carmel. So yeah, Carmel touched on this earlier, but it was like the mentor versus tutor support. So at university, you have your tutors and you have tutorials, and that tends to be like 2 per studio amongst 20 students. So the ratio is just a bit crazy. You don't actually get the personalized help that you need. When we started BDP, we had 5 mentors between the 2 of us. So if one was busy, the other can help, and you can imagine it being really intimate and personal kind of feedback that you get, whether it's uni work or work, or if you need help with anything else. So I don't know, it's just really important to note that throughout your apprenticeship. And it's also the fact that they are architects also. They've been through university, they completely understand what you're going through, they completely understand what needs to be done, the workload that you might have. So it's really nice to have that as well. They've become, throughout our years, a lot more like older friends rather than mentors, which is really nice. So yeah, if you can get the next slide, please. The next thing is kind of confidence. It's the job security, especially. This is something that kind of relates more to during COVID, really. Obviously, it was a difficult time for a lot of businesses, but we were, as apprentices, are quite protected. So it was really nice to just know that regardless of the being unsure about your job during COVID, we were pretty sure, and we were reassured that we would be fine. Another thing is future within the company, which is something that me and Carmel are doing right now. I think Carmel's looking at going into the level 7. I'm looking at a different course at Sheffield, and that is coming with full support from BDP and our mentors, which is great, and they really want to retain us, which is a massive relief. But yeah, it's just stuff like that is super good. And God forbid, if I do want to leave BDP, which I probably don't at the moment, applying for other jobs in the future, having kind of like BDP within your CV and the kind of the experience that you gain at BDP set you up really, really well for any other jobs that you might want to apply to in the future. If you can get the next slide again, please. And it's the full-time versus apprentices. This is something that is you can see quite vividly in university, in our studios. It's kind of like the level of understanding that you have. In practice, you're kind of forced to understand the kind of like the ins and outs of how a project works, and that kind of gives you the context and kind of help you understand design and projects more at university. And that's something that the full-time students unfortunately don't have, not working in practice. So you can really see that level of understanding make a big difference within our work. But within studios, it's always collaborative. I always speak with the full-time students, and they always speak to me, which is always really nice. But again, there is that level of understanding that there is quite a bit of a gap. And of course, the difference between working at university and in practice. In practice, I'm working within a massive team at the moment of like about 10 people. At university, all you're doing is doing your own design projects. You're essentially doing all your drawings by yourself. Even though you are talking to other people, you're still kind of doing all your work by yourself. So I think in terms of preparing you for what architecture is really like, the apprenticeship is a lot better in kind of putting into context. So if you can get the next slide, please. But yeah, the negatives, the pros and cons, obviously these are like massively subjective to who you are as a person. But something that I personally was kind of worried about was missing out on the uni experience. I don't want to speak about it too much here because Maria's here, but I can guarantee you that I did not miss out on the uni experience. I see her laughing there. But yeah, no, obviously you'll have some bit of control, right? Obviously I'm still working, I've still got uni work to do, but whenever I do have time, I do try my best to go out and enjoy myself. Another thing is too much work for young adults. That was a concern that my parents had. To be honest, I like it. I don't mind. It keeps me busy, which is always good. And it gives me financial freedom as well. Me and Carmel both, we've talked about it a lot, managed to help out our parents and whatnot. And that's something that would have been a bit out of reach, sorry, if we went into a full-time course. But like I said, it is subjective. There's pros and cons to everything, and it depends on you as a person. So yeah. Any questions? I see a lot of questions flying in the chat, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much for this, BDP. We really appreciate it, especially both your personal input. As you know, as you can see, there is quite a high demand of apprenticeships in general. So shall we go through the questions?
Yeah, please do.
So starting with Maria, you said you could answer. Does BDP cater to level 7 apprenticeships?
We do. We tend to do it via somebody coming in as a part 1 and telling them the opportunities that they can do for their part 2 and part 3. And that's worked very well for us. So that does work. If you're part way through a part 2 though, please note that you can't join an apprenticeship because you've already started. So that the option is really not there for you.
Okay.
You can move over depending on how far down the route you are. But it's just to be very clear that if you started and if you're sort of further down the route, it depends where you are to whether you're able to move over to the apprenticeship or not, if you get a company that will look after you. So
before we joined the call, you mentioned that there was a deadline. So for level 7, where is this website that they would apply from? You said the deadline had passed.
No, it's not that it's passed. If you're applying, then there's obviously the government website where all apprenticeships are put on. Your company websites will have if they're offering apprenticeships and stuff like that. It's not that it's passed, but you can't start a university course for your part 2 and then just switch automatically into an apprenticeship. So actually you would be joining a company on an apprenticeship to do your part 2 and part 3 together. You can't just do your part 2 and then think, do you know what, I'll join the apprenticeship for the part 3. That's not on.
Yeah.
But if you're slightly just into your part 2, then sometimes there is the opportunity within the university. And if you've got a company that's willing to sponsor you as an apprentice, then you can go from doing your part 2 as a student into being an apprentice.
Okay.
There's quite a fine line of how far down the route you are, and that'd be a discussion between the company and obviously the university that you're currently with. Okay,
so you would apply to the company as an apprentice, hopefully be accepted onto the apprenticeship scheme, and then at the same time find a university degree.
The company will actually help you know, because it's not a university degree. Apprenticeships, you can only join them if you're following a standard, and the standard is the course. So it's very much like a part-time course. That's the university have got part-time courses, can generally offer them. If you go onto the apprenticeship website, Institute for Apprenticeship website, and you go and look at level 7 architectural apprenticeship standard, so look for the word standard, it will actually show you the standard with the knowledge, skills and behaviours. But what it does have down the right hand side, it tells you also what universities is providing that standard. Now, as a company, we work with certain universities because we want to get the best for our apprentices. We work with ones that we've worked with before and are happy with. So we're kind of very on who we can go to, but also because they're doing 1 day a week at university during term time, it needs to be a university that's within travelling distance, because you're not going to send your apprentice to somewhere in Manchester and expect them to go every week.
Yeah.
So it's very, you've got to be very realistic about this.
Okay, so I think that's the best starting point then. Find a university that's local to you, see what they must have some deadlines in place also for their apprenticeship course. Yep.
But what you really want to do is find a business that will take you on as an apprentice.
Yeah, start with that. Okay, yeah, I'm with you.
Sorry, can I just say something? Sorry, just very quickly. I did put my hand up. But also, a lot of these degree apprenticeships or the level 7s will sometimes have universities already linked to them if they're corporate companies. So you don't necessarily have to go down the route of looking at the standard. If they're being advertised, then usually they have a preferred university that they're linked with. I don't think I've ever seen kind of an apprenticeship in general, I mean, not in architecture specifically, but across the board, that usually if it's a degree apprenticeship, they already have that link or connection with a university.
Not necessarily, no, not necessarily. Our apprentices go to different universities. We've got level 7s at Oxford Brookes and Nottingham, because they actually run courses in London. so our London apprentices can go there. So we kind of do it that way. So it depends, you know, the question was about going direct to a university, because you can do an apprenticeship without being part of a company. But what we're looking for is people that join us, and then we put them on an apprenticeship with the company that we're dealing with. The level 6, you're much more restricted. There's actually only 2 universities that often offer level 6.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that.
No problem.
Yeah. We had a question about the application process. I think you covered that. That was when your mic kind of cut off, Carmel. If you could answer that question. I don't think there's an age requirement, is there? Anyone can apply for the apprenticeship scheme.
Anyone can apply. Yeah, there's some people in our course that are like considered mature students. They started it and they have kids.
Okay.
So there's literally no limit at all.
Amazing.
As long as you've completed your A levels or some.
Yeah, as long as you have the qualifications that are needed.
Yeah, base
Is that it?
qualification to be able to get onto the apprenticeship. There is a base qualification requirement.
And if you have a degree in something completely unrelated, like geology, would that still be okay to come as a level 7, level 6?
They actually, if you read the requirements, and it is useful to go onto the Institution for Apprentices because it tells you what the requirements are. If you read them as well, often they don't give you a level. They tell you that they require 2 Bs and a C to get onto that course. So they don't always tell you, but we would say that art and history are good ones to have, but doesn't mean to say that somebody who did it, you know, talking in different one, we took on a building services apprenticeship. He's really good, and he basically did what his parents told him to do, which was economics, politics and English, and he's now a building services engineer. So it doesn't always fall that way.
And this website, Institutions Apprenticeships.
Yeah, for the Institute for Apprentices website.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I know that there's someone with their hand up, Issa.
Hi, I have a question. I study now my 3rd year in architecture. I'm about to this is my last semester. If I want to change to the apprenticeship route, how would I be able to do that? And
I don't think you can. Is this your part 2 that you're finishing up?
no, I'm finishing my part 1.
Part 1. Your part 1.
The 3rd year undergrad.
Okay. For us as I can only speak about BDP.
Yeah.
We don't advertise the level 7 architectural apprenticeship. How we do it is we take in part 1s.
Yeah.
We offer positions for part 1s, and when they're with us,
Yeah.
we then offer those that we'd like to keep the opportunity of joining the apprenticeship program.
So I haven't done my, after you finish your 3 years of undergrad, you do a year in practice. I haven't done that year in practice yet.
No, and that's what I'm saying. That's how we offer people.
Yeah.
Is when they join us in their year in practice.
Yeah.
So if we feel that it's worked out really well and where we'd like to be, then we will offer them an apprenticeship with us.
Okay. And
but some companies do advertise.
Yeah. And does your company, like, I know that they PTP has a studio in Manchester. Does it follow the same? Do they offer the same opportunities like the one down south?
That they haven't necessarily at the moment, but level 7 isn't an issue. Level 6 is up north because there's no universities that offer it. But level 7 is something that I'm sure they would consider if the right candidate came along.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
One more question, Sevtap. Sev, have you got your hand raised? Nope. Okay, we can go to the next person. Hassan?
Hi there. It's just to clarify on the previous question. You stated that the level 6 apprenticeships are offered in the north, such as Manchester. Is this correct, or did I hear wrong?
I said other company. We haven't took any apprentices in architecture in Manchester
Okay.
yet. Part of it was the lack of universities at the time. Definitely can't at the moment in level 6 because there's no universities. But if the right candidate came along and there was there are more universities opening up now, then we would consider it. It's a really good way of bringing in nice, new, fresh talent. So it is something, you know, we've got 53 apprentices. We've took on over the years 53 apprentices in many different professions. So it's something that we really support and actually enjoy doing.
Okay, thank you.
You're
Thank you for the
welcome.
clarification.
Thank you. Okay, Carmen, I'm going to come back to you now. Did you have any like architecture experience before you joined BDP as a level 6? And if you could give us an overview of the assessment process, because I know that there's a very high demand. It's hard to get in. So how did you win?
How did I win? Do you want to ask myself that quite a lot?
No.
Okay, so background. I knew that I wanted to go into architecture when I was maybe 10 to 13 properly. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna work hard on my GCSEs. I'm gonna take my A levels, and I took geography, maths, fine art, and I did an EPQ, which is like a written report about architecture. And what I can say is that definitely doing a creative subject in your A levels, that helps a lot. The maths, honestly, I could have done without. Almost killed me. After that, I did some work experience at a company called Dean Silver Care, or Kerr, I believe. Again, during school, they were like, you have to do work experience, and they were, you know, lovely enough to offer me a place. So I was able to get some experience there for about a week. And then, yeah, I applied to my universities, and I wrote my personal statement with, you know, my school to go there. But in the end, like, no university was going to be feasible for me, so I turned down those offers. So when
Sorry, I don't know if I can hear you properly. You're kind of disappearing.
Is this any better? Yes, no.
I think so.
Yeah, it's the same. It's gone back to being really, really distorted again.
No, I do. Maybe either I can keep talking, or maybe we should pass it back to Jordan.
Wait, I can understand what you're saying. It would just go up and down.
Okay, I'm gonna chat.
Yeah.
If it gets any worse, let me know.
Okay.
Very sorry about this today. All right, so doing the applications, I actually saw an advert come through on my emails about the architectural apprenticeship.
Okay.
And I was really shocked because at the time I thought it was only for level 7, and it was the first time that BDP was ever running it. But I thought, let me apply. So my design portfolio, that consisted of my A-level artwork, and most of the artwork that I did was 3D installation. So again, going into architecture, you're working with spaces, so it's very important that you can show some work that you do in the spaces rather than just 2D drawings and etc. My personal statement, again, that's something that I wrote intended for university. But I think the main thing that came through with that was expressing your passion, because with architecture, it's very long, it can be stressful. And if you don't have passion to help you, you know, with your dedication towards the subject, that's something that's important and that they will look towards. And on my CV, I did a few jobs here and there since the age of 16, from tutoring to being a car mechanic to working in stores to waitressing. Any of that type of information put on there, because it shows that you are a hard worker and you have an experience of being employed. So yeah, application, I put all of that through, did my telephone interview. And again, most of the questions were just asking, where do you live? Is it going to work for you being able to commute into the office, to commute into the university? They asked some questions about, you know, how I felt about architecture, some of my favorite buildings, how I felt about BDP. And I was completely honest, like I had limited knowledge, but okay, there was the odd building that I knew the name of, and the odd architect who had inspired me.
Yeah.
So past that, then I came in for the assessment and interview day. And again, like a lot of the people there, you know, other students, some of their work that they were showing me was absolutely incredible. And, you know, it's something like I have a sense of responsibility that I was, me and Jevon were chosen for that. So we try our best to, do what we can in light of the ones that got picked. But on that day, I think just be yourself. If you are going to be applying for a practice, if you are yourself, they'll know if your personality, if your workflow, etc., is going to fit with that practice. But again, be friendly, be humble. Those are probably some of the best qualities that we look for. Considering an apprentice, you're going to need to be humble so that you can listen. If you listen, you learn.
Yeah.
So that's what they're looking at. So yeah, teamwork. Don't be pushy, but at the same time, make sure that your voice is heard when it needs to be heard. And in the interview, again, be yourself. But at the end, they'll always ask you, do you have any questions? And that is the perfect opportunity for you to start talking about other things that they may have asked about, which, skills that you think could apply to the work, to the job that you're applying for. So that's what I did. I came in with a portfolio, all of my work fully printed out. I didn't come empty-handed. I just wanted to show them everything to give them the best, reasons for why they should pick me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think those are some of the reasons. But because I think Jevon has his own, which I'll let him talk about, which we share as well.
So thank you so much for sharing all of that. It was really helpful. So it was an interview, an assessment day, where you brought your portfolio. Is that so two separate situations? Okay, yeah, two separate.
So when I was applying, I gave them the PDF and a website of my art that I did in A-levels. And then when I came to the interview, I brought in the big portfolio as well.
Okay,
the other work that I did. Because in a PDF, you're probably showing your best 20 pieces, whereas you have a lot more of that, which they may find interesting. So I brought that along as well.
Was that an hour interview? Sorry, but I'm just very, very nosy.
It's okay. Like the more the questions, the more information.
Yeah, no, I know that this will be helpful. So it's like an hour interview in person.
Yeah, I think it was maybe probably just under an hour. I don't think it was quite as long as that.
No.
But some of the
it was actually 30 minutes, the interview, the telephone interview, which we do before we meet the apprentices and make the decision of who we're inviting to the assessment day, is 20 minutes. Can go on to 30, but generally it's about 20 minutes. We then, as Jervin mentioned, we do an icebreaker. It's just to make everybody start to feel a bit more comfortable and less nervous, because what we want to do is we just want to get to know the people and see, we're very on wanting people to feel comfortable so that we see the true them and also get to meet them, which is lovely. So we do that. We have the team building task that we do assess. It's just to make sure, because the one thing you don't do at university is work together, but in the practice, all you're doing is working together. So we need to make sure that people have good team working skills and are happy to listen to other people, listen to ideas, etc. So that's very important. So we did that. We actually did an English test as well, just to not that would stop you employing someone, but that it knows that then you've got something you'd need to help them if you do. And then obviously the interview itself should be about 30 minutes with two people. And it's everybody goes through the same process. The questions are the same. And it's a very informal chat to try and make sure that we select the right apprentices. And touch wood, through what we've set up, it does seem to work very well, that we get the apprentices really do fit brilliantly within BDP and are really thought highly of in BDP.
Oh wow, sounds like a great place to work. So I'm just gonna
there's actually one thing that I think I probably should add again to the application and the interview. There was a question and it asked, what makes you special compared to the other candidates applying for this? Why should we give you the job? And I remember my answers to this really well. And I told them that I couldn't give them an answer for that because I didn't know the other candidates that intimately. I didn't know what their background was. But I could just tell them about me and my situation. And again, to be honest and to give them a reason why you should be an apprentice other than, you just going to university and doing it full time. That's really important. So for me, I told them, it's amazing the experience you can get, all of those basic things with apprenticeships and why people find them so desirable. But then I also brought it down personally. And I didn't mean to make it a pity party or something. I was just telling them straight. Like, I was planning to go to university. at this moment in time, it's not feasible for me. And you never know, this may be my only shot. I may not get this other shot to go into architecture, which has been my dream for ages. So, you know, someone else from where I've grown up, these opportunities don't come by. Most of the time, people don't manage to get into higher professions. And for me to be able to do this, it will help to inspire so many others. And again, that is something that I've been able to do, able to give these talks. So if I was to give you any advice, it's to just give them that reason why you should get the job as an apprentice, not just go into architecture, but become an architectural apprentice.
I love that. Thank you. You gave us like a really very big overview, and just the importance of being personable, like wearing your heart on your sleeve. It really, I think it does make a difference. I know we've only got 11 minutes left, so I'm going to merge two questions into one. One is, do apprentices get a high wage? You can be as honest or dishonest as you want. Secondly, do you get a chance to move over the teams? Do you get like a broader like experience within BDP?
So for the first one about the wage, considering that BDP is paying for our tuition, it's more than enough to live on. That's all I'm going to say for that.
Thank you. Very diplomatic.
I would actually say if you want to earn a big wage, you don't go into architecture.
Yeah,
if I'm honest, you go into something like engineering, because they earn more in the beginning than architects. I will be honest with you, they're not hiding anything. We map our salaries so that when apprentices like Carmel and Jervin are coming up to someone coming straight from university at part one, they're on a higher salary than those people coming in, because they've got the knowledge, skills and experience that those people haven't gained while being at university. So they've gained academic, but they haven't gained the practical side of learning. So that's how we do it, but every company's different. But yeah, I don't think we're under competitive compared to some others. But yeah, it is kind of that kind of way. I don't think we're the top payers either. I'm not going to lie about it. You know, we're not. So yeah, if you want money, just don't go into architecture.
Okay,
that's
noted.
That's the yeah.
I was just wondering, could I maybe add to that slightly?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll say in architecture, you know, you will probably be, you know, a very average earner, or just like slightly above average, the national average of an earner. Is when you go into the like probably as you climb the ladder, particularly say, that's when you start to see and reap the benefits of all of your hard work, as it is in most companies as well. But I think being an apprentice, some things that you need to take on board is, one, you do not have that debt that is behind you. And even though some people say, oh, you know, you don't see it coming out of your accounts, a bit like a phone bill, that's not until you reach the next tax bracket. Two, you are earning for 4 years rather than being in university doing your weekend job. So you are saving a lot of money as you are doing that. And yeah, as Maria said, being an apprentice, you're getting so much more experience, and that's what you're paid for. So as she said, after this, I wouldn't be on the same salary as somebody coming straight from uni. I will be on more than that because of my experience. So in the end, adding all of those things up, it's worth it. It really is.
You also be like £40,000 debt free.
Exactly.
Well,
yeah.
Well,
yeah.
The part
Stuff
one,
like
yeah.
Okay, before we go into the next part, I also remembered Liddy told me to mention that your BDP is very interested in hearing from students who are considering apprenticeships in building services engineering. So I've put that out there. Do you get the chance to get experience from different projects within BDP, or are you within one team? How does it work? Is it
so
the same?
the initial kind of sussing out period for like the first 2 years and a bit, we were getting moved around a lot, which was really nice, because you kind of get to see how different teams work, and how the different sectors kind of like, I don't know, how they kind of feel, I guess. My personal experience, I worked in retail initially. I did quite a bit of healthcare, some competition projects, and then I went back and then I went into education, which I've stayed in for like a year and a bit now. And it's my favorite thing that I've done, favorite thing that I've been working in, which is great. but if I did want to move again, if I express interest, they'll be more than happy to accommodate. So they do kind of cater to kind of the experiences that we need to learn, like depending on what stage the project's on, what kind of project it is, they will want to help you gain as much experience as possible.
Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Carmel? Have I missed anything?
There we go. Skills, I think the German covers it really well. Only other thing is that I know it does vary from practice to practice. Some practices say, oh, we're going to put you maybe like on one project the whole way through. Some say we're going to move you about. Personally, I think either way, you're learning a lot. If you're going on to different projects in different sectors, you're learning bits and pieces from those different sectors. You're learning which one you may specialize in as well. But if you're also working on a project all the way through, like you're seeing hopefully all of the stages, and you just understand how the architecture process works a lot better as well. So in general, with the apprenticeship scheme, there is, the government sets out guidelines saying that you need to have experience on all stages of construction and, maybe sometimes different projects. So that will help you to get a better overall experience.
Yep. I've just had one question. So if someone was to apply to BDP as a part 1 wanting to get into level 7, what does BDP look for in part 1 architectural assistants to then make them keep them for apprenticeships? It's a very good question.
I think I don't know if either of you two want to answer this, or is it over to me?
I don't know, I guess I'm not the employee.
That's you, Maria.
No, okay. I would have said, I was actually typing an answer for this person. You're looking for creativity. You're looking for someone who applies what they've learned at university, someone who listens, and listening is quite a skill that a lot of we don't do because we're already formulating an answer in our head. But it's someone that's listening to their peers, learning from them, engaging, is a good team worker, because that's so important within the studio, that you need to be team working. And someone that just shows the ability to join in, obviously you want to be coming in on time, things like that. So it just shows that you're taking it seriously. And there's different reasons for why you would, but those kind of things, your creativity, applying what you've learned at university, being a good team player is very, very important. Understanding what you're being asked to do, and if you don't understand, asking the questions, asking good questions. Sometimes you say, well, that's a good question. Having that kind of thought process, thinking outside the box is always good. So you're always looking for someone that just shows that bit of initiative as well. I hope that helps.
I'm sure it did.
I would say that the best way to look for somebody coming in on a level 7 for us is if you also look for what people are looking for a part 1. So for the year out, because what you're doing then really is doing the part 1 kind of, your year out. So have a look at what's on there.
Thank you so much. I don't think I've missed any questions. Or no, I've still got people with hands up. Liam, Hassan, are these old questions, or did you want to ask something new? Liam.
It's kind of stemmed from an old question, if everyone can hear me. So my situation is that I'm not necessarily coming from an A-level situation and trying to get into the industry from A-level studies. I've been working in a different industry for 15 years. So my question was about the wage pack, and is more to do with, would I be able to take on an apprenticeship in my current situation with the financial obligations I have? So that was more to do with sort of the bands of pay you get as an architectural apprentice, rather than what does Jervin earn or what does Carmel earn, if that makes sense. It's more of a general sort of idea, if that can be answered in a sense.
Okay, so you would be coming in no part 1, you've not done anything yet?
No.
So previous experience. obviously the universities, when you're going into them courses, they do take things like that into account. So I can't answer the question to say, oh yeah, you would. We'd have to see, the university would have to see what you've had experience-wise, what your past qualification were and stuff like that. Because what you never want to do is take someone on a course that they're going to fail. Because why would you do that to somebody? As for salary, we aren't still finding out if we're doing level 6 this year, but normally we'd probably be looking to start our level 6s now probably around 19 and a half thousand, because as I said, to get them up to where they'd need to be when they finish their degree, their apprenticeship. So that's roughly where you're starting from, plus benefits. So it isn't a huge amount of money, but it's not a bad starting point for most people coming on their careers, Liam. Liam, why is it architecture that you want?
I'm quite a artistic sort of person, and I'm looking to try and apply something that I enjoy doing in my pastime towards a profession. I've always been very creative. The job I've got at the moment requires a bit of creativity, but it's also extremely mundane. I'm in the catering industry. I've been a chef for 15 years. So I'm trying to sort of diversify into a new career that's a little bit more fulfilling, a little less mundane. So judging by what you've just said, I would probably have to try and find my way to get onto level 7 or higher. My financial obligations at the moment, I don't mind necessarily saying I would need about 25 or above to be able to do something like this. So I need to find something around there.
Yeah, and you wouldn't get onto level 7 without doing the level 6, because you have to do your part 1. If you haven't got a degree base, the way it is at the moment, you have to do your part 1, part 2, and then your part 3. It's very structured at the moment, I say, because there are changes afoot.
Okay.
But it wouldn't. But there could be, as I said, architecture doesn't offer big salaries in the beginning. And as Carmel referred to, they kind of happen further down the line.
Yeah, that's fair.
Other things do offer larger salaries in the beginning, but you would be again starting off at the basics, because like you being, yourself being a chef, you had to start at the basics, and a lot of things within our industry, you have to understand the fundamentals to be able to do the job.
That's fair enough. I mean, I'm studying at the moment at university in a bachelor level. It's just I'm the geology student, basically, that was mentioned earlier on. So I'm doing that, and that should be finished within the next year or so. So I'm doing it part-time whilst I'm working at the moment. So, and it's whether or not that level of understanding at bachelor's level is enough to sort of get you onto a level 7 or not, or whether I'd still have to start at level 6.
I think you'd have to start at level 6, but without seeing the contents of your degree. But you could always, do you know what? Universities are very helpful. You could always ask a university. South Bank University offer the level 6 and level 7. You could always contact them for help.
Yeah, brilliant.
I just wish you all the very best of luck. I know it's not easy, but fair play to you wanting to do a career change. And we've took on people like that, and they've been brilliant apprentices. So do go for it. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
No problem. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to jump off. I've got another meeting in half an hour. Sorry.
I just wanted to say thank you so much, Maria, for joining. Sorry that we're 2 minutes over, but you could see that there definitely is a demand. So you'll probably get contacted or added on LinkedIn. Feel free to. If you have to leave.
Well, if they can send questions via yourself, I'm happy to try, and if you can collate them, I'm happy to try and help and answer. I do know it's not easy out there, but please do look on the Institute for Apprenticeships, because the standard also shows you all the companies that were part of the Trailblazer group, like us, like Scott Wilson Brown, and that will help you to know who to target.
Yep, no, definitely. So everyone contact me. I'm going to write my email address in the chat.
Lovely. Okay. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. The rest of you, if you haven't given us feedback, please do answer this question, and we can kind of organize our future online talks if you want more apprenticeship chats.
Sorry, is it Salam? Is it Salam?
Yes.
Hi, Salam. It's just that, I'm not very clear on how to the transition from part 1 to apprenticeship, like from university degree to apprenticeship. That's the only thing that I'm still unclear about. And then also, it would have been helpful if we had sample portfolios of accepted portfolios that PTP has accepted as, in their process of, taking up, on. So that's the two things that I'm unclear about.
I think, because you said you were a part 1.
So yeah, I'm studying my like 3rd year now. I haven't done my
year out yet. Okay,
and
so
I'm considering, changing to apprenticeship, because I don't think, I'm not really about uni life experience. So I'd rather have, the financial freedom and be able to, work and pursue my passion, but outside.
Okay, my understanding of what Maria said, then you'd apply as a part 1 architectural assistant at BDP, and on their website, I think it comes out towards the beginning of summer, their part 1 positions, and then they would decide on a case-by-case basis whether you'd stay on as an architectural apprentice. But I would use you. I think you are at a good position, because you can go from part 1 to apprenticeships level 7. So I would apply directly to practices as an apprentice.
And do you have a list of, for example, companies that that has that route available?
There's the Trailblazer group that BDP and Scott Brown Rigg are on. They're the ones that are known, but you don't necessarily have to be applying to these practices. It can be someone that's never taken an apprentice in their life. But I can send this all to you. I also send you the recording to our last chat. I'm just conscious of time.
Thank you very much. Sorry again.
No worries at all. Thank you for filling this in. I'm hoping you're all part of our Building Futures program. If you're not, please join today, and you'll get access to all the workshops and talks that we do. We'll also be going into architectural offices to do either for them, architectural officers will host tours and like specialist workshops. So the next one we have is end of March. It'll be a limited one. 29th of March, it will be to learn Lumion visualizations. And follow us on all our platforms. I'm sure you already get my emails, but if not, it's not too late to join. Thank you again for joining at 12 o'clock. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you for the next one, hopefully. And special thanks to Jervin and Carmel as well.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys, we appreciate it.
Thank you.